21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
So Martin, it's great to be on the podcast. My name is Geoff Thatcher. I am the founder, owner, and chief creative officer at an experience design firm. And so sometimes people are like, oh, what does an experience design firm do? Well, we work on experiences, whether they're in theme parks, whether they're in museums, or whether in corporate environments or brand experiences. And so that's what we do. So anytime there's any type of experience, whether it's a new corporate lobby or a technology showcase or a museum exhibit or a new theme park or a new theme park ride or attraction, those are all experiences. We experience those as individuals, as guests in the real world. So I was just on a phone call today talking with a client about a brand experience. It's a major hospital brand here in the United States, and they have an experience in Washington, D.C. That they're trying to renovate and redesign. And this is a brand experience where you bring people in and they learn more about this hospital system, this healthcare system, what they do, what the story is, what it's all about. You know, and it was interesting because a lot of times when we approach experience design, the natural tendency is for it to take a long time. Let's take 8 weeks. Let's take 16 weeks. Let's do interviews. Let's do charrettes. Let's really talk about things. Let's analyze things. And yes, all those things are important. But, you know, in talking with the client this morning, what I really discovered with them was that they needed something really fast. And I love it when clients need creativity really fast. We call it creative speed at our company, Creative Principles. And the reason why I love to work fast is because I think you get better creativity in so many ways. People aren't second guessing you every minute of the way. First impressions are sometimes, a lot of the times, most of the time, right. And so if you go with that first impression, it works. And, you know, people forget a third of our work is in theme parks, and people forget Disneyland, the original Disneyland, was created over a weekend. Now, had Walt Disney been thinking about it for a long time? And, you know, Martin, you're in Europe. Had he visited Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen? Of course, he'd done some research. He'd been thinking about it, been on his mind. But the actual work of creating that first bird's eye for Disneyland was a weekend. And so often, in our industry and in other industries, we just take way too much time to get things done. We can work fast. We can work with speed. Speed helps us to, just is refreshing, and it clears the palate and it engages us. And I think most importantly is it avoids the death by 1,000 cuts that happens, because truly, you know, entrepreneurs, and this is a show, a podcast about entrepreneurship. But Martin, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to break ground. If you're going to be a great entrepreneur, you're going to have to break ground. You're going to have to do something that's different. You're going to have to do something that pushes the limits. And if you're doing that, there's a lot of people that stand in the way and say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. Right? It just can't be done. You know what I mean? We've never done it that way. Why? What? You know? And speed allows you to move so quickly that you just move right past those naysayers, right? You just move right past them and get it done. So I love it. And our solution this morning, by the way, with this client is to go from an 8-week project to meet their needs, right? And what they needed, to a 5-day project. So we went from 8 weeks to 5 days in order to deliver them what they needed. And what was great about that is, yeah, it's going to be a lot more cost effective for them. It's going to be a lot more fun for us, because doing a concept in 5 days is it's fun. It's exciting. There's an energy to it. And, you know, yes, the 8-week project would have more depth to it. It would have more stakeholders involved. It would have more consensus. But I'm not sure the creativity would be that much better. if we're successful, we kick off every single project with a charrette, with a creative charrette. And the very best of them, we know at the end of that first day exactly what the project's going to be. We know what the what the plan is going to look like. We know we know the design. It's done. It's baked, because we were able to bring people together into this brainstorming session that lasts a whole day and really figure it out. So yes, I love creative speed, and I'm excited to be able to, virtually connect with you from Savannah, Georgia to Croatia to really talk about creative speed and how it impacts entrepreneurship. Well, Martin, this probably isn't fair, but when people talk about working fast, the concern they have sometimes is quality, right? And I'm going to pick on larger design firms right now. We're a small firm. We're a family creative firm, and we love working fast. Again, we call it creative speed. And sometimes people are like, yeah, but if you do this in 3 weeks instead of 3 months, like I'll give you an example. We did a master plan and a new vision for a zoo in 3 weeks, and that is, just so you know, wicked fast, right? It's wicked fast. And I had somebody in the industry tell me that I did a disservice to the industry by doing it in 3 weeks rather than the 3 to 6 months, that most people would take, right? And so they say, okay, is the quality there? Well, I'm going to answer that by saying 2 things. First, the great Buzz Price, and I'm not expecting you to know who Buzz Price, I'm not expecting your listeners to know who Buzz Price is, but Buzz Price, I'm going to pull off my shelf here. Buzz Price wrote this book called Walt's Revolution by the Numbers. He was Walt Disney's numbers guy that crunched numbers for Walt Disney. He did feasibility studies for Walt Disney. He picked the location of Anaheim, right, for the original Disney World. He was the guy who went and looked at Miami, Orlando, and Virginia for Disney World and picked Orlando. That's who this guy is. That's what he did. In this book and others, he liked to say speed can increase quality. Speed can increase quality, work fast. And I believe that speed can increase quality for a variety of reasons. But the secret sometimes in this industry is that a firm with 60 employees and 4 offices around the world, they might still do the work in 3 weeks. They'll just do it the last 3 weeks of the 3 months, right? I'm exaggerating. I'm not being fair, but you know what? The bottom line is if you tell a client, we're going to take 6 months, then you'll take 6 months. If you tell the client we're going to do this in 3 months, then you'll do it in 3 months. If you contract with the client to do it in 3 weeks, guess what? You'll do it in 3 weeks. But you have to manage expectations when you work fast. So for example, if you're working in 3 weeks, then, we often tell our clients, listen, when we present the initial concept and there's going to be people on your team who say it's not possible, you're just going to have to ignore them because we don't have time to fret and present options and discuss what the story is going to be for 2 months. We just don't have time for delivering in 3 weeks. I mean, honestly, for when you're creating an experience, how do you do it in 3 weeks? The first week is research, charrette, and story. The second week is planning, and the third week is visualization in renderings. So you have to have that story that crafts that experience done in the first week. You have to have the plan done in the second week, and you have to then move on in the third week to visualization, to actually doing renderings. you can do it in 3 weeks. You can totally do it in 3 weeks, but you have to make a decision. It forces you to make a decision. One of my favorite quotes in our book, The CEO's Time Machine, which is another book back on the shelf here behind me, The CEO's Time Machine. This is one we wrote. It was a pandemic passion project when the lockdown happened here in the United States, and they said, 3 weeks to slow the curve, or whatever the crap they were saying. We decided to write a book and publish a book, because we're like, what else are we going to do? I mean, we don't want to sit around watching Netflix, So we wrote and published a book. It took us about 5 weeks to do, but we did it. In that book, we tell the story of Kelly Johnson, who was the founder of Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works. So this is the guy that invented the U-2 spy plane. This is the guy that invented the SR-71 Blackbird, right? This is the guy that totally innovative engineer, right? Kelly Johnson, founder of Skunk Works. And he was turning over the reins to a guy named Ben Rich. Now, Ben Rich is the father of stealth. He's the guy that invented the F-117 Nighthawk that was invisible, right? The invisible airplane, right? And he invented it. Ben Rich was the leader within Skunk Works who made that stealth possible. And it's the stealth today you see in fifth generation fighters like the F-22, right? You see China and Russia trying to copy the stealth that America has built. So Ben Rich was taking over from Kelly Johnson. So Kelly Johnson was the founder of Skunk Works, been there 30 some odd years, right? Since literally the very first American jet in 1946, and Ben Rich now was taking over Skunk Works. It was 1971, 1972, something like that. And Kelly Johnson was supposed to spend 3 weeks on orienting Ben Rich to this new job, right? Even though they knew each other, but it was okay, we want you to do a 3-week transition period with Ben Rich to, as you transition out of being the head of Skunk Works. And so he comes into Kelly Johnson's office, and Kelly Johnson says, hey, I'm supposed to spend 3 weeks with you on this transition. He goes, I'm not. I'm going to spend 5 minutes on this transition. And he said, I'm going to tell you just a few pieces of advice. Number 1, make a decision. Doesn't matter if it's wrong, make a decision. Just make a decision. Be decisive. If it's wrong, you'll find out quickly if it's wrong. Make a decision. Do it fast. Make a decision. That was his first piece of advice. And his second piece of advice is when you kill a project, when you terminate a project, kill it dead. Don't leave it on life support. Make sure when you kill a project that you bury it in the ground and it's dead. So 2 pieces of advice. He said, that's it. That's all you need to know. Make a decision, even if it's wrong. And when you kill a project, kill it dead. So it's gone forever, right? So that's it. He was supposed to take 3 weeks. He spent 5 minutes orienting him to the new job. And I think, that's the big problem with working fast, is we just have people that refuse to make decisions. And again, I've seen projects just go on and on and on and on because they won't make a decision. They won't actually decide. And one thing that creative speed does is it forces the client and it forces you to make a decision. Because if you're going to work fast, you have to decide. You have to make a decision. So I am an entrepreneur. I own my own business, right? I own my own company. We launched it in 2017, July 10th, actually 2017, almost 7 years ago. And I launched it because I got fired. And I had no choice but to launch my own company because, I had worked at a design firm for, about 20 years or so, 15 years, and I got fired. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So when I think about entrepreneurship, I often think about this concept of creative speed that we love so much. And, we do have projects where we work slow because the client wants us to work slow, and we work deliberative because the client wants us to work deliberative. But, in my own business, right, as an entrepreneur, absolutely, we strive in every way to practice what we preach, to work fast. And that applies in a lot of different lessons in a lot of different ways. For example, I think I mentioned, Mark, we're a family company, we're a family business. That means that, I'm the chief creative officer. Our designer and illustrator, she's been with us 5 years, is our oldest daughter, Zoe. And then our creative writer is my son, Joel. Our youngest daughter, Mia, she just joined us earlier, literally June 1st, 2024. And she's a storyboard artist and another designer and illustrator. I know it's great. It's great working with your family. And of course, my wife, she's the rock, she's the muse, she's the inspiration. And she's the only one, we create experiences for the living. And she's the only one that is a mother that knows what it's like to, make decisions on what type of experiences your family's going to go. And honestly, mothers make most of the decisions as it relates to experiences. And it's really surprising how many experiences, they just don't really look at the mother. And it's not just experiences, it's all kinds of products. They don't really pay attention to what the mother wants. And the mother makes most of those decisions. And so we love to have my wife, Tanya, at early brainstorming charrettes, site visits, because she gives us input and feedback that we would never get otherwise. So how does creative speed impact my entrepreneurship? Well, if you are an entrepreneur, and I believe this, you have no choice to swim with the sharks. You have no choice but to throw both yourself, you have no choice but to jump into the deep end, right? And you have no choice but to throw your employees into the deep end, because you're an entrepreneur. You have to work fast. You have to work with fewer resources than big giant corporations have, even though we're an S corp, right? We still have to, we have to be more creative, and we have to work with creative speed. So Zoe joined us after spending 2 years designing costumes, and I needed a bird's eye. So, when you think about a concept design for a theme park, right? There's the iconic bird's eye rendering that looks down from like a airplane or a helicopter. It's looking down at this attraction. And that's like, it's like awesome, right? To get that bird's eye down, that big panoramic view of a new attraction, of a theme park from the sky. And it's rendered, it's created by hand. And Zoe had spent 2 years, our daughter Zoe, 2 years as a costume designer. And she was with us about a month. And I said, Zoe, I'd like you to do a bird's eye. And she says, I've never done one before. And I'm like, okay. Going to throw you in the deep end. And, it's not like we weren't there with a lifeline, you know what I mean? But absolutely, as an entrepreneur, if you're going to work fast, if you're going to apply those principles of creative speed to yourself, you have to have the fortitude to be able to not only jump into the deep end yourself, but you have to be able to throw others into the deep end as well. And, as a note of positivity on this, one, she did fantastic, and her bird's eyes are amazing. And she did great. And by the way, she's gotten better over the last 5 years with her bird's eyes. That's for sure. We all get better as we age and as we have more experience. I would say that one surprise that I had when launching my own business is how many people there are out there that are there to help you. I think the biggest mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make is they partner with somebody rather than going it alone. And a lot of times their business fails because of the failed partnership. And they don't do it alone because they're afraid. They're afraid that they're not going to get help. And the reality is there are so many people out there that are willing to help. I mean, accountants, lawyers, bookkeepers, software like QuickBooks, other types of software out there that helps you run a business. And so if fear is keeping you as an entrepreneur from going out on your own, don't be afraid. Yeah. And whatever you do, don't partner, right? Don't partner, right? As I think Dave Ramsey likes to say, I might get his quote wrong, the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership, right? It's just a bad idea to partner, go in 50-50, whatever, 33-33 with two other partners. It's just a bad idea. Don't partner. Go out on your own. Do it yourself. And there's people there to help you. So let me give you a few examples about creative speed. And I have to put it in the context of, we do a lot of work in the Middle East. We do a lot of work in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Qatar, Riyadh, and we love it. And one of the reasons why we love working in the Middle East is because they love to work fast. They love to work fast, and we love to work fast, and they love to dream big. And it's interesting. Why are there expats in Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Riyadh? Because they want to build something, and they want to build it in their lifetime, right? I'm going to tell you a sad story, right? I'm not going to pick on the state here in the United States, but it's a state that's run by liberals, so it has lots of regulation, right? Lots of zoning, lots of hoops to jump through, lots of union rules, lots of environmental rules. And I was working on a project, and my client was 40 years old, 40. And he told me that this project was going to take him all the way until he was retired at 65. It was going to be a 15-year project, because all of the approvals and zoning and the politics and the regulation and all of that was going to take that so long. And if he was lucky, he would get it done by the time he was 65, if he was lucky, right? And I just found that to be incredibly sad, right? Where you have another, right? So why are there expats? Why do people from Australia and South Africa and Europe and the United States, why do they go to Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Qatar and Riyadh? Because we want to see our work. We want to build stuff. We want to see our ideas come out of the ground and come to life. And they work fast. I remember getting a call. This was 2018. And it was the end of February. And so end of February, right? March was like 1 week away, right? And I get a call from a client in Riyadh who wanted to do a big event in Beverly Hills, right, in Hollywood, called the Summit on the Future of Entertainment in Saudi Arabia. And he said, the first weekend in April is when we're doing this. So that leaves us 1 month, March, right? Because it took the first few days of last few days of February just to get the scope of work and contract, get all that figured out, right? So we had 1 month to put together an event in Beverly Hills in Hollywood on the future of entertainment in Saudi Arabia. We had to pull together, find a producer. I was the creative director, but I was putting together the team, right? We had to find a producer. We had to find a Hollywood agent to help us reach out to other Hollywood agents to invite them. We had to find a PR firm. I think we had to find a location. We had to produce speeches. We had to find a host. Ariana Huffington agreed, by the way, and that's another story I could tell you. She's hilarious. But we had to find panelists. We had to find speakers. We had to put together the whole event 1 month, right? Which really meant we only had 3 weeks, because the last week is you're actually there on site, like installing it and building it, getting it. So we had like 3 weeks, right? So, and we did it, and it was great. It was a huge hit, and it was really amazing. We in fact, we had 350 people, I think, invited, and we were expecting about 50% attrition, which is pretty standard. Half the people just don't show up. We had 100 more people than had signed up come. We literally had to, at the last minute, take down the tables and just bring in theater seating, because it was so, the demand to see it. Because again, Saudi Arabia was coming. This was, again, April 2018. They were coming to the United States to say, we are open for business. Honestly, it's like the Berlin Wall falling, right? I mean, Saudi Arabia coming to Hollywood and saying we're open for business. I mean, that's amazing. They're making deals with all kinds of entertainment companies when they were there. But 1 month, we had 1 month to produce this event. Now, most corporations, if they were planning an event like this, at a minimum, they would start planning it 12 months in advance. We did it in 1 month. And so, is it possible? Yes, it's absolutely possible. If there is one thing I could leave your listeners with, as fellow entrepreneurs, right, is first, hey, if you know anyone who's designing a theme park, let me know. I'd love to help. But seriously, I doubt there's anybody out there who's probably designing a theme park. But seriously, if I love connecting with people, you can connect with me on LinkedIn at Geoff Thatcher. It's Geoff Thatcher, like the English Prime Minister. So that's probably the best way to reach out to me on LinkedIn. But obviously, we have a website at creativeprinciples.com. We have a book, The CEO's Time Machine, that you can buy on Amazon and other outlets out there. And we love to share our thoughts on creative leadership. I mean, one of the things at the end is, I think, as an entrepreneur, you have to know who you are. You have to know what business you're in. And we are in the business of creative leadership. I tell people all the time, don't hire me if you already have the creativity baked. If you need creative leadership, you hire me. If you don't need creative leadership, don't hire me. It'll be a waste of time and money. And so I think that, my final call to action, sure, reach out to us. But my final call to action is, I want you to be able to understand what you do as an entrepreneur. I want you to be able to answer 4 questions about yourself. What is your enduring idea? In other words, what's never going to change about your business that you've started? What's never going to change about it? Second, what makes you different from the competition? Third, how do you want your brand experienced? And fourth, who do you serve? And be honest about that. A lot of entrepreneurs are not honest about who they serve. And I'll give you an example. In our answer to that question at Creative Principles, we didn't put the clients, because we had to be honest. Now, I love clients. I love taking care of my clients. I want them to be happy. But if I'm honest with myself, I serve the work. When I put something on my bookshelf back here, it's not the picture of my client. It's what my client, but it's my work. That's what I want to see, is my work. We are proud of our work. We serve the work. We serve the work. That's who we serve. And so you have to be honest. Who do you serve? Corporations sometimes aren't honest that, they're just serving their shareholders, or, oh no, I'm just serving my boss. You have to be honest. Who are you actually serving? The best brands, the best companies, like Holiday World, great theme park in Santa Claus, Indiana. First for family fun. They serve families. Everything they do there is committed to families. Free parking. Why? Well, why would I charge you for parking if you were coming to my house, right? Free unlimited soft drinks. Of course, if you're family and you're coming to my house, if you're coming to my park, why would I charge you for a drink? I would offer you a free drink because that's what hospitality, that's what a good host would do, right? Free sunscreen, all of those things. Wooden coasters instead of steel coasters, although they did finally get a steel coaster, but they go first for family fun. They know who they serve. And so answer those questions. What's your enduring idea? What makes you different? How do you want your brand to be experienced? And who do you serve? At the end of the day, sure, I'd love to meet you. I'd love to connect with you, but answer those 4 questions about yourself. And Martin, thanks for taking the time to have me on your podcast. Appreciate it so much.
"21st Century Entrepreneurship" with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.